Hello everyone, my name is Nicole First and I would like to take a moment to talk to you about the unit I developed for the HSGQE prep class I will be teaching this fall. The class is virtual with both synchronous and asynchronous components. So taking a look at the established goals, here's the NET's goal: communication and collaboration. We're going to be focusing pretty heavily on using the scoring guide, particularly to assess and improve their own writing and provide feedback to peers. So moving forward, I have various GLEs that will be addressed as well, specifically in regard to providing feedback using established criteria, which obviously will be the writing test, practice writing test rubric. So the overarching idea, the one big thing I want students to understand, is that a rubric is not only a tool for a teacher to use, but also a tool for students to use to improve and assess their writing. You'll notice that I have a giant list of essential questions. I kind of went through the 5 W's and H of various areas of focus, particularly scoring guides, right here, providing feedback, and then scrolling further down, the difference between revision and editing. Going back to what students will understand, again, there is a long and specific list. The course itself is very specific, so I have specific understandings. We're looking at revision as an ongoing dialogue, establishing common language, exercising specific etiquette when providing feedback, understanding that feedback that is personalized is going to create more improvement, and also providing resources and samples will help improve. So scoring guide information, including criteria, common language, and expectations of quality. And then the use of digital and multimedia tools to provide feedback, including tools like ScreenChomp, Screencast-O-Matic, and the Moodle discussion forum. So what students will know and what students will be able to do, they're going to have a common language, they're going to know etiquette, and they're going to know what resources are available. They'll also know the content of the HSGQE practice test scoring guide. Notice that they'll be capable of providing feedback to peers. They'll also be able to apply common language and etiquette. They'll be able to use the HSGQE writing practice test scoring guide to evaluate peer writing and their own writing. And then scrolling down to the bottom here, they'll be able to apply digital tools for providing feedback and continuing a revision discussion. Moving on to stage 2, we'll be using the HSGQE practice test rubric as our major tool of focus, and I'll scroll down and show that to you in just a moment. We will also have class established feedback guidelines, which we'll do through a Moodle discussion forum and a poll. And then I have some discussion forum rubric guidelines that I also have, and we'll take a look at those in just a bit. But moving through, I have performance tasks that focus on peer feedback, and this is just so that students will be able to establish their common language. And then we'll take a look at how to communicate on the homework help forum in Moodle using tools like ScreenChomp, especially since the students are operating in an asynchronous environment in some cases, and students are traveling a lot. So then they'll get to the major focus of the unit, which is imagining being the audience member, which is an HSGQE writing test evaluator. Many times students don't have the opportunity to be acquainted with their audience before they start writing, or no one calls their attention to who their audience is going to be when they start writing practice items for the test. And so what I found is that students' comfort levels increase dramatically when they understand who their audience is. So focusing on pretending to be a writing test evaluator is helpful, not only because they get more familiar with the rubric and assessing various samples from poorly written to well-written samples, but they also become quite familiar with their audience by simulating and role-playing that particular situation. So, and they'll move through poorly written samples, well-written samples, a pure piece, and then finally applying the rubric as an HSGQE writing test evaluator on their own work. So that's kind of the final assessment component as to how well they can use the rubric. The last piece is something else that I want to address with the students, and that is revision versus editing. Now, a lot of times students will get this confused or think that revision and editing are synonymous when in fact they are not. And so that's another thing that I intend to focus on. So we'll also do some work with, again, Screen Chomp or Explain Everything or Show Me or Screencast-O-Matic as ways to provide revision feedback using our old buddy, the HSGQE scoring guide. So I have various lessons planned. I have designed a website as a way to sort of welcome students into the course, because we don't have our Moodle courses up and running yet. So they'll be able to go to this home page, and then they'll go to a place called Homework Tips, and they will then be able to get some information through Homework Tip 2 about using Screen Chomp, particularly while they're traveling. There's instructional videos created and included, so students will be able to use the tools even if I'm not there. So lastly is the learning plan. I've got several lessons and activities planned, particularly, as I said before, focusing on learning who audience is, because that is a huge determiner in how a student's going to choose his or her voice and word choice. And so it's a big factor, and I think being comfortable with your audience is half the battle. So here we have the rubrics as discussed, including the HSGQE long constructed response rubric for the HSGQE writing practice test. This will be the tool that we use to govern assessing all of our writing. Additionally, I have the discussion forum rubric posted, and the workshop guidelines, because going along with the scoring guide unit will be a workshop element, so that students will have pieces composed and they'll be able to assess both peer work and their own work. So thanks so much for your time. If you have any suggestions or need anything else from me, please don't hesitate to contact me. Thanks again, and have a great summer.